Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about time slots and how to take your data, your videos, your video files, and put them into a form that Casttor can use. If you remember from previous videos that we could essentially open up a template and play a video. And we could go ahead and play Highway Patrol or whatever. We could use a different template. This is full screen, so we'll use small screen. Run it again. And you'll see totally different video template styles, looks. If we go and get the standard one, this is 1080p. It looks similar, but some of the fancy stuff is gone. You can see we have the title up here instead of down there. So how do we create a time slot? So let me bring over the current streaming TV shows, and as you know, I told you to put your stuff in here. So how does Casttor work? When we define the station, you'll see a thing that says show drive. Well, show drive is the drive that your stuff is on, all your streaming TV stuff is on. Your station drive is where is usually like in the C drive or whatever, and it could be in the same drive or in a different place. So if you look here, you'll see it says program directory to play, and it says streaming, Highway Patrol, relative, OK to stream. Okay, if we actually go and look at this, here is streaming TV shows. Here is time slot equals Highway Patrol. Here is OK to stream, and we have some files in here. Now the secret of all this, and I'm waving my hands in the air again, I hope you can see that. I usually don't bother with the webcam because it isn't about me, it's about the program. So what does this relative mean? Well, we know that normally if you have a bunch of different files and directories that well, you have to sort of specify all that. You have to say, hey, it's in my shows dark shadows / horror / da 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 da, and you have some sort of script with all that information into it. Now the idea with Casttor is it's sort of a file navigation, aka not secret identity, but rerouting, I guess. So you see this word relative? Well, Casttor pays a lot of attention to the word relative. Now, well, it's relative. So Casttor does not pay too much attention to the owning folders, other than it's in streaming TV shows, it's in the correct disk drive, and it pays attention to relative. So it considers anything after relative, if you put the same folders and information in it, to be the same. So I can load or drag OK to stream into my template, and it works just fine. So I'm going to go here, and here is some other sample shows. So here is Dragnet, and here is My Mother the Car, 1950s. You know, I'm an old guy. And you'll see that it has OK to stream, has bio, has about the same thing in it. Slideshows. If you do highway patrol, you'll see slideshows. And these are the slides that it uses whenever your regular template demands. Over here, you'll see slideshows, but it has to do with Dragnet. If you come here to My Mother the Car, you will see slideshows. The file name slideshow is the same in all, so relative slideshows always has slideshows in it, pertinent to the show. So how do I make a new one? You get the idea that relative is the thing that allows me to interchange, because what Casttor does is it looks for streaming TV shows, it replaces the drive letter with the current drive letter. It then finds relative, and even if there's something else in the middle of it, between timeslot, whatever the name is, and it will replace all that with the new things that you've chosen. So it's pretty easy. This is the thing you pay attention to. So let's create a new time slot. I should explain a few things. Bio has common stuff that you might need for a time slot. You'll see that I use series up here and time slot down here, and the idea is that time slots have a particular relative amount of files, and time slot may have different ones or the same. But the idea is that you can use commercials equal as the base, and you can think in your head, you want to put any show that has this. They're all interchangeable, but they might not be interchangeable with time slot. So what do? About is storyline. If you look at it, this is a storyline, and support I will get into a little bit later, but this contains metadata that's in paragraph form. You remember on highway patrol, it had a bunch of verbiage about the episode and the type of thing that it is. So you will see a thing called templates, TV shows, and here's just a bunch of templates, and I'm going to copy simple shows, and you see it has all the same sort of stuff in here, and it's sort of empty. So I'll copy this up here to streaming TV shows. I will now give it a different name. my show. Okay, good enough. And I now have my show. Of course, there's nothing in it. You can see relative. So I'm going to come up here, and I have some sample videos that have no metadata in it. So I'll take this guy and run it down to here. So it's copying, copy, copy. So we have that, and well, I'll do the other shows too. Oops. And I'll copy that. So these will be your variety shows. And right now, sometimes I have a slight problem with this. So get rid. This folder right here keeps track of how many times you've played it, the order, stuff like that. So sometimes I still have a little work on this. It gets screwed up, so get rid of it, and it'll start it new. So now I have dragnet, da 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 da. So I'll come over here and I will drag OK to stream up here. And you'll notice that it came up with dragnet, the big pair, from one of these things here. You'll notice I didn't have any other data in there. So if I run this, let me get us over here, run this. You'll notice there's no name of the program here. There's a bunch of other stuff that, where in the heck that came from.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so sort of very blank. So what do we do about that? Well, if you look over here on the actual dragnet, you'll see that I have a bunch of stuff here. I have what I call metadata, and this takes a little bit of time and effort to put in, but it's really up to you as to how expensive you want to make your videos. If you don't care about names and stuff like that, don't put them in. If you want to put in, the type of show it is or whatever, then metadata is the way to go. And also, the scheduler uses the episode data to actually sort and schedule things. So it's pretty important to put these things in. So what do we have? So we have date equals in 1954. Oh my God, how old is that? That's 70 years ago. Wow. 12/30 is December 30th. And then we have comma, EP, episode, equals season 04, episode 18. For things that really don't have episodes, that aren't TV shows, that are whatever, you can put in the date like 2023 or S2023E 4/12 is for April 12th, comma, and you don't need to put in the volume. Volume, I normally take this file, run it into Adobe Premiere Pro, tell it to give me the peak volume, and then I type it in right there. So the volume for this, the peak volume, is minus 8.8 dBm. And why I want to do that is that, well, I mean, if you look down here, here's a minus 11, here's minus 7, Here's minus 5.8. Well, they're sort of all over the place by a lot of dB. So in a regular TV show, you sort of want it to come out to the same volume all the time, even if the original is not minus 10 or minus 5 or whatever the standard is. So if you put this volume in, Casttor will change the gain in OBS for that and change it to so it comes out to minus 3 dBm. So it's up in the upper levels, but it isn't clipping. So you can leave it out, and if you leave it out, it just doesn't change it at all. It just leaves it as is. Trimmed is just my way of saying to myself, and obviously you don't have to put this in here, is that I've cut the front and the back off, or I've cut the front off, or whatever, because I do a lot of this stuff on YouTube, and YouTube normally gives you the option of when you have a copyright claim, which usually has to do with music, to change the music or remove that section. So I just go ahead and edit it out anyway. And it's followed next by title, and it's comma title equals dragnet underscore, or whatever you want to put in here. So here's the different names. You don't have to put dragnet. It's if you want it to show up, it'll show up. So okay, you can also put things like song. I use that's a keyword for music videos, and this has basic information. It has a date that it was created, has an episode, even if you make up a funky one, has volume if you want to go to the trouble of making all your videos come out to the same level, so that people do not want to turn the volume up then turn it down. It's too loud, it's too soft, so this makes it come out correct. And then you give the thing an actual title. So cool, this is sort of an interesting information. How does it work? Okay, so if we go back to our new show, we've loaded in interviews, TV shows, concerts, whatever you want. So if we run it, there's no information that comes out of this too much. So if we run it, we have some information here, but we don't have any titling. Okay. Here's the channel name. Okay, so let's do this. We'll take this one here, and bracket means start of metadata, title equals dragnet, and at the end we put a closing bracket. Okay, so let's see if this works. Yeah, actually I'm having a little bit of trouble with this, so get rid of that and we'll try it again. So there it is. Okay, so if we run this, so here's the name, Dragnet Big Rod. So it brought in that title. So how does that work? Well, the scenes right here control the sequencing of the main videos. The start, the stop, the end, in between. The sources are overlays, and let me widen this a little bit. So if I run this again, you'll see that some of these turn on and off. So So here's station ID, here's a slideshow. Here is, oops, let me run it again. So I can turn this off. That's the name of the program. And if you look at it, you'll see a thing that says metadata program title.
The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect.
Well, what happens is there's a way, and I won't particularly get into this right now, where it takes the word title and matches it up against one of these overlays. And when you actually run this thing, it turns these things on and off, but it gets that information from the file name. So the cost is you got to type this thing in if you want to use it. If you don't care about having labels and stuff like that, and who cares, then don't put it in. If you have a bunch of clips and the clip has a song, then put in bracket song equals da 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 da, comma artist equals da 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 da, album equals da 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 da, close bracket. And those would be available for you. Now you're going to ask about, well, what happens if I don't want one of these? Well, make your own. And I'll have a video on how to make your own and how to make your own overlays, new ones, so that you can have things in different places. Now, for example, this is sort of FYI. You'll see logo up here, logo 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if I turn it on, you don't see anything. But a good way of seeing where everything is to unlock something and pick it and turn it on. I'm sorry, and pick it. Well, that didn't work right. Oh, it's invisible? No. Oh, unlock it. So there's where logo 1 is. There's where logo 2 is. There's 3. And there's 4. And you can specify the logo in each one of these things. So, and of course you want to leave these all locked because you're going to move them around. But essentially, with the overlay editor, you can specify what goes into any of these things, and they're in different places. And some of the stuff that you can do with titling and stuff, it comes out. Let's see. Let me make this wider. So movie. Okay, let me turn these off. Let me unlock it so that you can see where things are. And here is title main program. So that's where it is. So here's album, track, main program. So here is main program, and you see it's the same thing but bigger in a different place. So let's see, does this do anything? So you see it says metadata here, and it says title. Well, anything after overlay metadata takes the next word, title, from the the title equals in your file name, and it puts it into anything it can find that has title in it. So there's title at the top. So it takes the title from your file name and puts it into anything that says overlay metadata title underscore something or by itself, and it sticks it into these overlays that you can turn on in different places, and you can define your own. So I mean, if you don't like it there and you want it vertical on the side or whatever, OBS can do, you can make your own. The idea is that you can create your own scenes, you can create your own overlays, and Casttor will read them from OBS and create this editor that handles this. So here's the overlay editor, and don't worry about understanding it right now, but here is all the overlays that it read from this. These red ones are overlays that are from the file names, and you don't have to put anything in there. Here is the overlay for logo, and this is the file that you use. Okay, not going to get into explaining it very much, but essentially we want to put in, how to sort. Sort by episode, sort by date, sort by alpha. Alpha just means alphanumeric. If you sort by episode, you can start at a certain episode, and you can shuffle or loop the thing when you're creating your actual time slot. So you'll see that it actually told you the length of this thing. This guy controls the the schedule for actually playing these things during the day and whatever, and that's a separate subject right now. But essentially, I can drop anything. So I can drop My Mother the Car. I can drop OK to Stream, which has all these. In Casttor, if you give it a folder, that means, Casttor, please pick something from this folder. The only exception is a slideshow, which it has a bunch of slides, and by definition, anything in the slideshow is a slideshow. So a folder in a slideshow view is just a slideshow. So I can come over here and I can drag and drop this, and now I have My Mother the Car. I can go down through different clips. You see the times change. I can run this thing now. Well, you can see I left stuff on. So Casttor does not know if you actually change any of these things. Okay, so let's run it again. So we have a different slideshow. We have My Mother the Car information, and we have Remember When We Were Young. So, where does that come from? So, channel ID, name of the show. And that matches up with My Mother the Car, the Son, the Criminal. Where does all that rest of that stuff come from? I'm not going to get into it too much, but it comes from this guy right here, metadata meta. I told you that you can put this in brackets and say something equals something. Something equals something, something equals something, something equals something. It doesn't help you with paragraphs, obviously. You can't put it in the file title, and also you can't exceed 255 characters total for most operating systems. So, the file name can't be too long, and the file path can't be too long. Otherwise, it's going to get truncated and not work too well. So Where does the rest of this stuff come? I'm hand waving again. Okay, just pretend you can see that. So under support, you will see metadata, meta. And if you look at it, uh, it's coming up on the other screen. You will see a file that looks like this. And some of this is just comments. I put a lot of things in when I'm uploading the YouTube where I say da 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 da, stuff that I can upload. And then down here, you'll see I start with a bracket. Something equals something. Same as the file name. Intro. Bracket. Intro equals, remember when we were young, my mother the car. Close bracket. Open bracket. Performers equal Jerry Van Dyke. Open bracket. Release date equals da 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 da. Open bracket. Description equals da 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 da. Close bracket. Okay, here's a bio for it. So you can see bio equals the paragraphs. Okay, what's this down here? Well, I use a lot of TV programs, old TV programs, public domain programs, and they have episode numbers. And when I play them, I want the information to come up on the, in OBS about this episode. So when I told you about the episode numbers, not only are they used for sorting, but they're used for search. So when it starts up, it will look at all the episode equals, artist equals, whatever, and it will use all those. If there's 4 of them, it has a list of 4 different things, and it will go down through here and try to find it. So you have open bracket search equals, and then you have nested, open bracket SO1 EO1 equals, YouTube da 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 da, storyline equals season 1 da 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 da, come here, description of it, electronic program guide equals da 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 da, and close bracket to match how many open and close bracket. It's sort of like JSON, and I use brackets instead of the curly brackets. And then it says checksum SO1 EO1. Don't have to have it, but this checks to make sure you got the right brackets and stuff, because you got a long list and it screws up. It's really hard to tell. So this will come and say, hey, on SO1 EO1 you got something wrong with the brackets, and you got to fix it. So here is EO2, a bunch of different things, different episodes, and you can see if you want to put this information in, there is a cost to it. So you get the original video from somebody and it says, here it is for free. I give you permission to use it. And then you want to put in the name and the artist and the album, and you got to type that into the file type. If you want to type in venue information or anything else, you got to type it in. And if you want per episode, you got to, extra stuff, you got to put it in too. You may not care about this. This gives you historical information for TV programs like Dragnet and, things that are oriented towards the episode itself. So you can use this. You can not use it if you don't want to. You'll see here on the bio that I had Jerry Van Dyke, which was from a show. So you would put in your stuff for the bio if you wanted to have a bio in there. And the idea is that if you decide that you want a bio in a show, that you put them in all. You fill it in all, and they all have the same name. Um, you can see that you have uh, B-roll. That's just clips and stuff you want. Music, slideshow, and report. If I take this guy out, some of this stuff will disappear. It won't see it, and you don't have to bother with it if you don't want to. So it makes it very, very flexible in that you can add these things in. You can put your own slideshow in. You can add new categories if you want. Just keep in mind that if you want them to all work across time slots, time slots have to, from relative on, have to look the same, have the same folder names. And for things like bio.text, you want the title to be bio.text. So that's one of the secrets of Casttor, in that essentially you can take a template that describes a timeline and describes an overlay scheme, and even though all these files are in different places, as long as from relative on you can just drag and drop OK to stream, or just use OK to stream. And there's a reason why I'm saying this. It isn't that it's going to break if you use something else. But what happens is, in the future, picture this. Okay, you have a friend. They're running a Casttor station too. And they've composed a concert series or whatever. And they've used OK to stream. They put the stuff in there, use all these same folders and things. And then they say, okay, we're going to have a central place where we can trade programs. And if you essentially, if they're all the same, you can copy that folder with all those files and concerts and stuff over to yours, and they work. And you can trade back and forth, or have just a central repository for all these things. But essentially, all the data that you need to run Timeslot is in the Timeslot folder. It has the bio, it has titling, has everything. So you can just copy that, send it to somebody else, and as long as their scene collection in OBS works, it can handle those titles and things, you're good to go. So, and also because we do drive letter changes and stuff, you can move these things to, the templates and stuff someplace else. And even though they say P or R for the drive letters, Casttor will, if you are on that show drive and you say the show drive is R, it will change any of the stuff to R where it was P before. And if you've given it the Roy Rogers OK to stream in the templates and stuff, and you drop in Dragnet, it will change all those things to come out to the correct folders. So essentially the idea is that you got a template, and as long as you in the file system use relative and keep the name of the folders the same, they're all interchangeable. You can use one template with all of those different programs. So in my regular channel, I have a lot of TV shows. So what happens if, okay, I want to use this for this? I can then say, okay, save, and I'll explain common. Common means that any of your actual streaming stations can use this because it's common to both. So I'll say that, and now I'll say My, oops, I don't know if you can see this, sorry. My mother the car. Okay, so I've put in the folder that I want. I've changed the name, but I've kept the templates because the way I've designed it, they're all the same. So if I come over here and say open from common, you'll see my mother the car or highway patrol. So highway patrol, open from common, my mother the car. Run. It's a little fat. Now if I come over here and let's say this is sort of an aside. If I come over here and want to change your travel station, I can come up here to configurations and select station, and it will, here, it's on the other, it will come up and you can change your station and the logos will change and everything sort of nice. It supports several different languages, so you want French, you'll see it changes to French. It keeps the technical terms in English like show and drive, station, drive, and letter, because some languages just don't come out right. A directory might be guide. Um, so you'll see program de sortie, which means pick the thing. You'll see it has drop downs that explain everything in the language that you've chosen. So it does all sorts of really well. Okay, that's interesting. So it has a lot of drop downs and really a lot of cool stuff. So um, Arabic, I don't know if I got it right. I run this through a translator and then back translate it to make sure it's correct. But Arabic is right to left, and don't know if I got it right. So here is Italian. Sometimes these Italian words come out a little bit long, and they don't quite come out. They sort of overrun things. All these little details kill you. But I can add new languages and run it through the translator as I go along. I only have like 6 here because during the beta phase, I don't want to do 100 languages and have to change one word on all 100 and have to go through all the pain of doing that. Where at worst, I go through like 6 different languages, and for beta users, I can whip up another one. It's for them, and then when I release the whole thing, I'll have a whole bunch of them. So anyway, that's sort of it. In that we've now created a thing called My Shows. So, well, let's see if My Shows works. So I can go to OK to stream. I can bring it up here, and there it is. If I do next clip, it will go to the next clip, and you'll see there's no brackets. And if you want to run, you you can. So I will explain all this in a different video on how to set the player up and how to do scheduling. But as you can see, I just added a new time slot called My Show, or My Variety Show, or Ed Sullivan, or you know, hip hop, the hip hop show. And essentially, I use this template down here to copied it and then brought it up to the main thing and then changed the name. There is one called Custom Shows, and they just have more stuff in it. And I'll get around to explaining TOD and some of the other thing. It means time of day. So you can actually point at one of these files and say, it's time of day, and if it's between 0 and 600, it'll play that, and if it's after this, it'll play that. So you can actually put different things in these files, like slideshows or whatever, PSAs, whatever you like. And when the program runs, it will say, oh, this is a TOD. I'll find the nearest one and I'll use those. Music, favorites. I'll explain those a little later, but essentially you can use shortcuts to an OK to stream file or folder, and combine shortcuts from different different time slots. And so if you have hip hop music on one time slot and classical music on another, you can create shortcuts to the ones that you want in the OK to stream, copy them here, and use drag and drop that into your schedule so that it will pick through classical and hip hop and mix it all together like it was one single program. Similarly, if you have let's say a venue and you have different singers, and you want to be able to mix and match different singers in a random manner, like in music videos, you can use shortcuts and favorite lists. So it does handle favorite lists. There's no thing where you type in Western and John Wayne and stuff like that. You can grab these favorite lists and drag and drop them into Casttor, and it will go and play them. But you actually have to create the folder with the shortcuts that you want. So you could have a folder saying Western John Wayne, or Western whatever romances, and put in all the shortcuts for that into that, and then have another shortcut folder that is action heroes, or edgy, or whatever you want. So not only is there a place for everything by either the singer or the type or the venue or whatever you want, but you can create favorite lists that mix them. Obviously deeper subject, but I'm trying to tell you that it's possible to do favorite lists pretty easily. So, and you can add stuff to this. I mean, if you have something you want to put in there and make it your own standard, that's fine. But remember that if you do, whatever you put in those things, you run it into somebody else's time slot thing, it won't see it because it won't know that it's supposed to be looking there. So it's best that maybe in the future we come up with some sort of standard that says this is the standard folders that you want to use, and make a superset of them so that if we even if we don't use them, that we have them defined. So something to think about, maybe in the comments. So we have essentially made we have a list of templates that we can draw from, and some of these other ones are, well, let's see, have different things in it, and as we go along, we can make up new ones so that essentially you can, drag your church. And now here's series, a series of sermons. We can define that and drag it in there, and you can drag all your sermons into it also. So there's a number of styles or looks, but not infinitely many. So anyway, that is the way it goes. That's the way it is. And you can see how I actually, from sample shows, I just dragged in the my mother the car thing, and it just worked just fine. So that's sort of an overview of how to add your show, your video into a time slot that you can then load into the scheduler and play around with. So in combination with whatever timeline you have and whatever overlay you have and which way it goes. Different video to explain how these work. Not that hard, but very flexible. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm sure that I'll get some feedback, and I hope I wasn't rambling too much, but I wanted to point out different things so that in the future you might say, oh, he said something about that, and what was it? Oh, yeah, something about favorites list. Oh, okay, there must be a video here someplace about favorites list. Okay, so I was going to make this fairly short because it's better to make a whole bunch of short videos, get them done with, and slam them together, but I just kept on talking, so sorry about that. Anyway, signing off for the day. This is Bill. Hope you enjoyed this.